This is the flag of Norway. The Norwegian flag hasn't always been the same though, and actually for some of its history it was the flag on the left with a golden lion on a red background that represented the country. So in today's video I'd like to ask the question of where do these Norwegian flags come from, what is their origin and what is the symbolism behind them? Norway is one of the Scandinavian countries, and throughout its history various flags have been used to portray it. So for example, during the Battle of Nesjar in 1016, we know that the Norwegian king Olaf Haraldsson used a banner with a serpent on it. For much of the Viking Age, different symbols were used on banners. These could include animals like serpents or dragons, wolves and ravens. Ravens in particular seem to have been quite important, being linked to the god Odin, who was associated with the nobility. Wolves and dragons as well come across frequently in Germanic mythology and so were probably sought after symbols as well. Starting from around 1136 with the reign of King Inge I, we start to see more heraldic symbols and animals like lions and eagles appearing on liveries and coats of arms. In 1280, in the reign of Eirik II, we know that he was using the lion with an axe in its hands and with a crown on its head on a red background as his symbol. But the first time that we actually see this is in 1318, on the seal of the noblewoman Ingebjorg Haakonsdottir, who, as you can see, has the two lions at the very top holding the axe there. Now, in 1523, the Kalmar Union that had been Denmark, Norway and Sweden fell apart when Sweden pulled out. This left Norway as the junior partner in a relationship with the much more powerful Denmark to the south. Now in 1748, the Danes demanded that the trade flag on Norwegian ships only be the Dannebro, or the Norwegian flag of the red and the white Nordic cross. However, in 1814, when Denmark backed the wrong side in Napoleonic Wars, Norway briefly became an independent country and pulled out of the Union. They decided to have as their flag a very similar flag to that of the Danes, adding only a lion, again with a kind of halberd, and a crown on its head in the corner, so bringing in the influence from both the old Union with Denmark and the former medieval Norwegian flag. Unfortunately for the Norwegians, their independence wasn't to last, as Sweden soon invaded Norway and captured it and made it a part of the Swedish Empire. However, they were quite lenient in their terms in dealing with the Norwegians and so allowed them to have a flag to represent Norway within the Swedish Empire. In 1821, one of the designs for a Norwegian flag was this one, which of course we now know and love as the Norwegian flag, and there was quite a lot to consider when making this flag. So the man who made it said this in Danish, because that was the language of the nobility in Norway at the time, about the influence on the flag.
Nu betegner friheden særligt det som vi har set der i det franske frihedsflag, og endnu set der i hollændernes. Og amerikanernes flag og englændernes union, which in my absolutely butchered Danish is meant to mean now denotes freedom, as we have seen it in the French freedom flag and still see it in the Dutch and American flags and the Union of England. So that's really the influence behind the Norwegian flag, although there was some more close to home important decisions to be made about colours, and there was a large debate about whether they should have red as the main colour to obviously signify the long history and partnership with Denmark which it had had, or whether blue should be the main colour to now denote the partnership with Sweden that Norway was in. And in the end, as you can see, they've kind of gone for both, noting that the Swedish flag at the time was a darker blue that was later changed to the lighter blue. So really, when you understand that, you can see exactly where the influence behind the Norwegian flag has come from. So for a long time, the Norwegian flag was only allowed to be used by ships in Norwegian waters. When they went out further afield, they had to fly Swedish flags because of all sorts of rules with payment that they couldn't afford to fly the Norwegian flag in terms of safeguarding and shipping. Now in 1818, the Swedes ruling over Norway decided to implement the Swedish flag as the flag that was in Norway, but with a canton in the corner to denote that, you know, this ship was part of the Swedish Union, but
with Norway and coming from Norway. Although in 1844 they revamped this design to this one. So the main flag obviously was the Norwegian flag that had been chosen, but the canton showed a mixed flag with Sweden to show that it was part of a partnership with Sweden. And in Sweden you can see that a very similar idea, mainly the Swedish flag with the darker blue, and then the canton to show that it was in a relationship with Norway. Now this canton itself was also sometimes used as a flag in diplomacy when representing the partnership of Sweden and Norway abroad. And as you can see, it's quite an interesting design, and it got an interesting name, which was Sildesalaten, which meant the herring salad. This was a common dish that was eaten for breakfast in many of the Scandinavian countries, because it does look a bit like a bit of a mess on a plate as a flag. Now, this for a long time was the flag situation in Scandinavia, with the sort of a lot more clean looking Danish flag and then the Union flag of Norway and Sweden and their various iterations. However, towards the end of the 19th century, in Norway there was clamour to leave the union with Sweden. It became increasingly unpopular, and people started to ask for the Rene Flagge, which meant the clean or the pure flag, which of course was just the normal Norwegian flag with no canton in the corner. And in 1898, as Sweden's grip on Norway loosened, the parliament in Sweden voted to change the flag, and despite Sweden's king trying to veto it, the parliament managed to push this through, that they would only fly the Rene Flagge instead of the flag with the Swedish canton. And in 1899 this change was enforced. It would fully be enforced in 1905 when Norway became fully independent following a referendum that led to Norway no longer being part of that union with Sweden, and since then it has been the same Norwegian flag flying over the country's cities and towns and ships. So that's basically the history of the Norwegian flag. I hope you found that interesting. I'm back to making videos again now that I've moved house, so it's good to be back and making videos. You can expect new videos out every Friday on various topics. So yeah, basically if you want to see more flag videos, I could do one on potentially Denmark. Has quite an interesting flag history. It's one of the oldest flags that we see continuously in use. Sweden, there's a few things I could talk about as well, I suppose, or if you want to see other kinds of videos, then please don't hesitate to let me know which ones you want to see, what kind of videos you'd be interested in seeing in the future, and I will go from there. So thank you all very much for watching. A huge thank you to all my patrons who are incredibly patient and very generous with their support. So a huge thank you to everyone who can support me in any which way, and I hope to see you all again very soon.